The Ottoman Empire ruled for over 600 years. It controlled 3 continents, commanded some of the most powerful armies in history, and turned cities like Constantinople into the heart of the world. But behind the grand mosques, behind the silk, gold, and royal ceremonies, there were secrets. Brothers executed in the name of stability, children taken from their families to become soldiers, a royal palace filled with paranoia, betrayal, and power struggles. This isn't the story of Ottoman glory. This is the darker side of the empire. The Ottoman Empire was founded around 1299. By the 16th century, under rulers like Suleiman the Magnificent, it was one of the most powerful empires on earth. But here's something few people talk about. When a new sultan took the throne, his brothers often didn't survive. It was called fratricide, the killing of one's own brothers. Why? Because civil wars between princes had nearly destroyed the empire before. So, Ottoman law eventually allowed a new sultan to execute his brothers to prevent future rebellion. Some sultans ordered multiple brothers strangled the very day they were crowned. It was brutal, but in their logic, it was necessary for stability. Now, here's another uncomfortable truth. The Ottomans created one of the most feared military forces in the world, the Janissaries. But where did these elite soldiers come from? Through a system called Devshirme. Christian boys from the Balkans were taken from their families, converted to Islam, trained intensely, and raised to serve the empire. Some rose to powerful positions, even becoming grand viziers. But make no mistake, they were taken as children. For some families, it meant losing a son forever. For the empire, it meant loyalty directly to the sultan. It was both an opportunity and a forced separation. When people hear Ottoman harem, they imagine luxury and romance. The reality was far more political. Inside the imperial palace, especially at Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, the harem was a center of influence. Women inside the palace weren't just companions, they were strategists. The most powerful among them, the Valid Sultan, the mother of the reigning sultan, often controlled court politics. This period even earned a nickname, the Sultanate of Women. But power came with danger. Rivalries were intense. Poisonings, exiles, manipulations behind closed doors. Survival inside the palace required more than beauty. It required intelligence and sometimes ruthlessness. At its height, the Ottoman Empire stretched from Southeast Europe to North Africa and the Middle East. Managing that vast territory required strict taxation. Non-Muslims paid a special tax called the jizya. Entire communities were tightly regulated. Local leaders answered to Istanbul, while the empire allowed religious minorities to practice their faith under the millet system. Loyalty and financial contribution were expected, and when provinces resisted, revolts were crushed, sometimes harshly. The empire's tolerance had limits, and maintaining control over diverse populations required constant pressure. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the empire began weakening. Corruption spread through administration. Military forces that once dominated Europe became outdated. Janissaries, once elite warriors, resisted modernization. In 1826, Sultan Mahmud II violently dissolved the Janissary Corps in what became known as the Auspicious Incident. Thousands were killed. It was reform through bloodshed. Meanwhile, European powers advanced technologically and economically. The Ottomans struggled to keep up. Debt increased. Territories were lost, and the empire earned a new nickname in Europe, the Sick Man of Europe. One of the darkest chapters came during World War I between 1915 and 1917. Mass deportations and killings of Armenians took place within the empire. Historians widely refer to this as the Armenian Genocide. The Ottoman government claimed security concerns, but hundreds of thousands, possibly over 1 million Armenians, died during forced marches and violence. To this day, the event remains deeply controversial and politically sensitive, but it represents one of the most tragic episodes in the empire's final years. The Ottoman Empire was complex. It was innovative, strategic, architecturally brilliant. It gave the world breathtaking mosques, trade networks, and cultural exchange. But it was also built on harsh policies, political killings, forced systems, and brutal decisions made in the name of survival. No empire is purely glorious, and none are purely evil. They are human, ambitious, fearful, powerful, fragile. The Ottomans lasted over 6 centuries, but, like every empire in history, they fell. In 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate was abolished, and the Republic of Turkey was born. Outro 9:20 to 10 o'clock. History is rarely simple, and the darker chapters are often the most important to understand. If you enjoyed this deep dive into hidden history, subscribe for more untold stories of powerful civilizations. And tell me in the comments, was the Ottoman Empire a product of its time, or could it have chosen a different path? I'll see you in the next one.